Here's a brief but annoying message to let you know that you could have first heard this episode 9 months ago if you were a subscriber to our Iron Filing Society Patreon offering.
For the price of a pint and a St Clement's each month, you can get up to 4 episodes a week, 9 months before the rest of the world gets them. Early access to regular episodes, lots of other marvellous benefits, and there's absolutely no adverts or brief but annoying messages like this that will get right on your ticks.
Find out more and subscribe now at tftimemachine.com/ironfilings.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, this is it!
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hotbody Dawson. Bow, bow, bow.
I'm Sam Nifty Delaney, so what?
Welcome along to, what are we going to call this? Going to have a long title because it's the Rod Hull This Is Your Life Odyssey.
Yeah, we just couldn't. Let's just call it the Rod Hull Odyssey, because it's bound to go off in other directions. We're bound to access Wikipedia at some point.
Yeah. It's we're just using Rod Hull's the overview of his life by Eamon Andrews, and This Is Your Life as a kind of a jump off point. It's the 1983 episode of This Is Your Life devoted to Rod Hull. And this came about recently. Someone got in touch. You were talking about Rod Hull's
about his
sign outside his house
saying, "Don't piss on this car's tyres.
Don't piss on my tyres.
Don't piss on my tyres." Yeah, sounds like a lyric from a weird psychedelic '60s song. Hey man, don't piss on my tyres. I got a lot going on in my life.
The tyres are metaphors.
Yeah.
So, in case you're not familiar with This Is Your Life, it was a series that ran on forever and ever on ITV, and each week there was a different celebrity who would be surprised by the presenter. It was Eamon Andrews originally, and then it was Michael Aspel following the death of Eamon Andrews.
Who's better?
Andrews.
Yeah. They're both good.
Gotta go. They're both good. But Aspel was a perfect...
he was very good. He took over and he did it with real aplomb, but Andrews was the original and best. It's a really...
Andrews... Go on.
I was just going to say, it's actually a really good format, and it's really... It's really well-made television, right? In as much as everything... So much telly just is so transparently contrived. But just watching it back, it used to be such a it wasn't a show that I looked forward to, but it was a show that when I was a kid, I'd just always watch. If I was sat there, which I usually would be, I'd watch.
The whole family would always put it on, and it would be like, let's see who it is.
Who is it? Yeah. And then if it was someone good, like a footballer or a pop star, you'd be like, whoa! If it was someone quite old who was on telly a bit before I was sentient, I'd be like, ugh, fucking hell. Who's this cunt? Someone who used to be on Corrie in the 60s. Right.
I mean, I bet there's been meetings about bringing it back.
Yeah.
But they would bring it back and it would be an hour long instead of 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you'd have the celebrities and their pals doing challenges or something like that.
What I like about this is
enhance it.
Journalistically, it's a really impressive feat, because I know that sometimes the celebrity probably had found out and knew and had to pretend to be surprised. But I genuinely think, in the Rod Hull case, I think he's genuinely surprised. I think 9 times out of 10 they were.
Yeah.
And I think that the amount of gathering of information and individuals that they hunt down, it's like the team behind this were fucking really good at their jobs. They're good producers and journalists. And there was a neatness to the format as well. The little bits that I'd forgotten because I hadn't seen it for so long till I watched this. But that thing where they have the voice of the next guest comes out over the speakers and sort of gives you a clue, gives the main sort of protagonist the clue for who's coming next. It's just a nice little thing. It's not always a surprise as such, because sometimes it's the wife or the whatever, someone very close. It's not always like, we flew this long lost friend in from Australia, but it's just a nice little sort of narrative device, isn't it? And they had it all it's a show that's just right. It had a really neat format that told a story in a really compelling way. Don't see enough of that on the box really anymore.
That's right. And you know what? Very rare for an ITV show. Didn't have a commercial break in the middle.
Is that right?
Yeah, just ran straight through 20, 25 minutes, whatever it was.
Why was that?
Because it's too important to have a fucking commercial break. Too important.
They must have cost themselves a lot of money.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know, but obviously you'd lose the narrative, wouldn't you?
I suppose you're right. Wow, important. I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's a lot of abuse of trust in the creation of each episode as well, because you've got the loved ones of the celebrity squirreling around, lying to them, keeping things from them. And,
do you think there was a few rows, like, afterwards? Because what I'm trying to do is, Rod Hull, what makes this particularly amazing is, or fascinating, I think, to me, is that, obviously, Rod Hull, you and I regard him as a comic genius, but ultimately it's Emu who's the star, and it's very easy because he's so good at making Emu come alive. It is really easy, and I'm not joking, it's easy to forget that the bloke doing it all is Rod Hull, right? Rod Hull is the genius. Emu is just some fabric.
That isn't Rod Hull's right arm wrapped round the bird.
Yeah.
That's just a pretend arm.
And then, but what do we know about with all these famous puppeteers? Keith Harris. I wouldn't put him anywhere near the same league, right? And of course Roger de Courcy. These people, all of them. What was their life? Who was the man behind the puppet? And that's why Rod Hull, This Is Your Life, is so amazing. But when he sat there and his wife comes out, and straight away you think, okay, well, clearly his wife was the one doing all the assistance to the production crew. Yeah, I'm kind of sizing Rod up, and I'm thinking to myself, is he sort of painting on a smile, but secretly got the ump? And he's like, you, just you bloody wait. Emu's going to be very cross with you when we get home later. Emu's not going to be happy about this. Emu might have to tell you off. And you know what that means.
Yeah, but then you're getting into the territory of the sexy then. Maybe that's what they're into. Maybe they've got a special Emu that's, adapted for particular purposes. I don't want to go down that road.
There probably were arguments, though, weren't there, between, like, the celebrity and the spouse, because, exactly like you say, abuse of trust.
I mean, there'll be some... I mean, Rod Hull is quite subdued throughout this entire show. He's very softly spoken. I mean, there's times when you can't hear what he's saying.
He's humbled. That's why.
He's humbled. He's either humbled or he's got the hump.
I'd be humbled. Would you be humbled? I'd be really humbled by it.
I'd be humbled.
Yeah.
I'd be humbled. But I mean, there'd be some people who'll go along with it because it happens, and they wouldn't want it to happen. They wouldn't want that kind of attention.
Remind me, who were the ones who fucked him off? Spike Milligan did it. And wasn't there a footballer who did it as well? Was it someone like Mick Shannon?
I'm just reject This Is Your Life. There was a short list of people. Because, of course, what they did was they showed it happening and them showed them going, no, thank you. Danny Blanchflower. That's the footballer that turned it down.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Mind your own fucking business.
Yeah, exactly. Keep your nose out of my business. Thank you very much.
But what they would do, they'd show the rejection and then the screen would just go black for the next 25 minutes.
And it would be deemed like a week of national mourning. It was of such huge significance, the weekly episode of This Is Your Life. It would be like a national crisis, and the Queen would have to like issue a statement. It is with great sorrow that I tuned in to This Is Your Life on ITV this Wednesday evening, as I always do, with my husband Philip and my mother, the Queen Mother. Only to see Mr. Danny Blanchflower decline the opportunity to have all of his friends, colleagues and loved ones relive the glorious moments of his life and career. It filled us all with deep shame and sorrow as a nation.
Guess who else turned it down? Bill Oddie.
Fucking hell. He can be grumpy, can't he? He can be grumpy.
I was going to say notorious grump Bill Oddie.
I probably told you this before, but I actually know Bill Oddie a little bit not through my media connections, but my
personally.
Yeah, but my family, my sister, my younger sister, her best mate is Bill Oddie's daughter.
Brilliant.
They've been best mates since they were like at primary school, right?
Bill Oddie then is pretty much your brother-in-law. Let's say that.
I did once get Bill Oddie. I was once part of a pub quiz team for about 10 years that was my what used to be my local pub, and we were extremely competitive, and we took it probably too seriously. And when there was a final each year with the trophy called the Golden Question Mark, we would always try and bring in a ringer. Right? It was me, my missus, my dad, who, fucking hell, we could do a whole deep dive into my dad's conduct.
Oh, man.
My dad's
that's the kind of thing that needed to be fucking filmed for posterity.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's conduct...
Your dad doing a pub quiz.
It was... God. His conduct was just simply outrageous.
Diabolical.
It was diabolical at times. It was awful. And he wasn't even drunk. I was usually drunk. The fucking mind games and everything he'd do with everyone else. I didn't really get the worst of it. The only good thing was me.
Hang on. Everyone else on your team or on the other teams?
On our team, on all the other teams, everything. He was just like... It was the way Fergie was when he managed Man U in their pomp. Like he would be trying to... It was all about tiny margins. Do you know what I mean? Like anything he could do to unsettle anyone, he would dispute every single... answer that the really nice quizmaster bar manager John, who was our mate,
John,
right? He would fuck with him constantly. But we did often win it. But one year it was like we have to get our usual ringer wasn't available, so we started going through all of the people who we could possibly get in to supplement the team for the final. And I remembered seeing Bill Oddie win Celebrity Mastermind. And isn't MJ friends with Bill Oddie? Come on, let's get his number. So I just got his number off my little sister and then just fucking called him up and was like, look, I'm MJ's brother, we've got a big pub quiz on. And I convinced him to come down. He came down. But I'll tell you something about him. He was really shy.
Was he?
Yes, so he wasn't like, and my dad is, how can I put this, not shy. And
your dad was there as well, though, yeah?
Yeah, my dad was there.
Your dad and Bill Oddie on the same quiz
my
team.
dad, Bill Oddie, me, my wife, and there was another bloke called Richard who was our other sort of regular.
Fucking hell.
And yeah, Bill Oddie was just like... Bill Oddie was a bit... I got the strong sense that at times he knew the answer, but because my dad was like the captain, and he was
the alpha.
My dad has an overbearing sort of like personality, and so Bill Oddie, I was going like at times I was going, Bill, do you have any guesses for this one? And Bill was just like, no.
Sam, this needs to be a play.
He only piped up when there was anything on ornithology, or I remember once he answered. There was one about bees, and then he went into big thing about bees, and I learned quite a lot about bees off of him.
I mean, that's a kind of a spin-off of birds, isn't it?
In
Birds
a way,
and bees.
Yeah,
pretty much the same thing. You need to write this as a play.
No, my sister told me, his other main passion outside of ornithology is the music of Prince, right? He's a huge Prince fanatic. Did you know that about Bill Oddie?
I did not.
Well, I think Prince was his subject on Celebrity Mastermind. In one of the episodes, he chose Prince. And he loves it.
Why aren't we deep diving this?
And my sister claims that one morning when she was a kid, she'd had a sleepover at Bill Oddie's, and she came down in the morning, and I think it was Purple Rain was playing really loudly, and Bill, as she calls him, which just always entertains me when she just refers to Bill, and I go, well, why don't you just call him Bill Oddie so I know which Bill you're talking about? And she said that he was crying and had a dead bird he'd found in the garden cradled in his hands with Prince's Purple Rain blaring out, and he was crying and crying. And she said that's what greeted her. And she came down. She was only about like 10, so it was quite disconcerting.
Bloody hell. I've just Googled Bill Oddie and Prince.
Yeah.
And in February 2014, which you remember was when Prince did his hit and run tour of the UK, where he would announce shows the day before, on the same day, an hour before, whatever.
Secret gigs,
Bill Oddie did a tweet which just said, "Hey Prince, mums need notice for babysitters." The number 4, not the word 4, because that's how Prince did it.
He's talking in Prince language.
how about a concert for motherfunkers only?
Oh.
And then he says, you know you would love it, with you, the letter, rather than the word.
I speak Prince,
He's urging Prince to basically give us a bit more notice.
For the Mumsnet demographic.
For the Mumsnet, yeah. And then somebody's replied to him and said, my last Prince concert at the Apollo, you were there 2 rows back. Great show.
What? Prince replied?
Yeah.
What?
Prince didn't reply. No, some fella replied.
Oh,
no,
right,
Prince
right,
didn't
right.
spot Bill Oddie.
Hey, it's Bill Oddie. Hey, everyone stop. I want to say, come on up here, Bill. Do we have any fans of the martial... If I say the martial art of Eki Thump, does that mean anything to any of you motherfuckers?
Oh, man. This is so good. I did not know about Bill Oddie and Prince.
Oh, yeah, he's a fanatic. And
this was on Mastermind, you say? Or you think it was?
I think he was on... Yeah, I can't remember. I know. Maybe my sister just told me. Or maybe he was on Mastermind.
Some of it's on...
Answering questions.
Some of it's on YouTube.
Him answering questions about Prince?
It says here American Jazz.
Oh, okay.
But it's probably one of his other ones of his loves. But that's so good. But getting back to him refusing This Is Your Life, it was 2001, and Bill Oddie gave Michael Aspel a definite refusal when he was surprised by the Big Red Book while filming at Slimbridge Wildfowl Trust. So he was obviously on the job at the time. And there's a picture of him. There's a picture of him holding up his hands as if to say, "Oh my goodness me!" But then he refuses it. He's surrounded by swans. Michael Aspel's got the book under his arm, and it says Bill had a pact with his mates and the goodies this should all decline if asked to appear on the show. Aspel says, I crept up on him when he was doing one of his bird watching programs. He gave me a definite refusal. Disappointed, I bade him goodbye and said no hard feelings. Luckily for us, Bill's family told him they would kill him if he didn't appear, so he changed his mind. There you go.
I think
That's
that
brilliant.
He's acting like he didn't mind, but I think there's something very vaguely of the power play in the way Aspel says when he was doing one of his bird watching programs. I find that
shows.
very subtly belittling, isn't it?
One of his duck shows.
One of his shows where he fucking looks at birds. Not like me with my serious journalistic shows.
Richard Gordon. It was Richard Gordon of the Doctor books and films. They were a series of films, weren't they? Doctor
in the House and all that. With
all
Dirk
that sort of
Bogart.
thing. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And James Jefferson, what's his name? James
Justice Jefferson or something like James Justice.
He's someone who requires
James Justice Nelson Rogers.
He's someone who requires a closer fucking look because he and the character he plays in Doctor in the House, fucking funny. And I did find myself watching an interview with him not so long ago.
James Robertson Justice.
James Robertson Justice, you you thundering idiot.
So the bloke that wrote them books knocked it back, but not many did.
I mean, God Almighty.
But I was looking at Eamon Andrews because I remember Eamon Andrews when he died, and he died mid. This is not during a recording, but he was during the middle of a series.
Right?
He died with his boots on. Let's say, like so many entertainers did in the 1980s.
They would have wanted it, yeah.
Like so many performers and entertainers died in their mid to late 50s in the 1980s because show business was about 3 things. It was about alcohol, it was about cigarettes, and it was about work-related stress.
Yeah, it was.
They all just, like Eric Morecambe, 52
I think by the
like
time they made it onto TV, they'd done so many years. A lot of them didn't make it on TV full-time until they were already middle-aged. And they'd done so many years on the circuit, in the pubs and clubs, inhaling all that passive tobacco and nicotine as well.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what people from Roy Castle. But all the travel up and down the land. I saw someone quote Barry Cryer the other day. I read an interview with Jack D, and he was talking about touring. And he said, to quote Barry Cryer, I'd do the shows for free. I love them. It's the travel there and back that you're paying me for, right?
That's right, yeah.
Because it's just like, they're just fucking they're non-stop on the fucking road, aren't they, these lads?
Yeah, I mean, we know this ourselves as touring artists.
Yeah, but then
we know what it's all about.
But imagine that. I mean, we'll do it for like 10 days, and I don't know about you, but I'll feel really fucking knackered by the end of it after all that drive-in and all that stuff. But these guys just, those sorts of entertainers, especially in those days, just did it non-stop. Well, I suppose it's still the case. Stand-ups on the rise still have to do that non-stop, don't they?
Yeah, I guess so. But like you say, there was all that passive smoking and everything.
Yeah, and it was a lot more hedonistic, I think.
A lot of whiskey, I think, was consumed back then.
That's how I picture it. Like you've always got a bottle of Bell's in your rucksack.
Jalapeño.
They all just dropped dead of heart attacks when they were aged somewhere between 52. I mean, Eamon Andrews was 64. I've just looked it up. He was 64, but he was a big cunt, and he used to be a boxer.
Did he? Yeah,
so that's why he got a few extra years.
He looks fucking handy, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, you wouldn't turn down Eamon Andrews with a big red book in case he'd fucking hit you with it.
I'll fucking crack
your head off.
I'll fucking crack your jaw for you. You don't say no to me.
I'll ask you again.
Hey.
This is your life.
Are you going to say yes? Am I going to introduce you to fucking Tweedledee and Tweedlefuck here? That's what I call my fists. Look at the size of them. I got hands like fucking shovels, you cunt.
Never mind the big red book. You're going to meet me big red fists in a minute.
Bill and Ben, the fucking flower pot man. Pop, pop, you little weed. How'd you like that, Addy? Addy, with your fucking duck show.
Ah, God.
That'd be Eamon looking down. He'd be like, I fucking tell you, it's a good job I'm not still alive. He wouldn't pull a stunt like that on me like he does on Aspel. Aspel's a fucking soft touch. He's a walkover.
Fucking baby.
He's a good host, don't get me wrong, but he lacks the element of fear and threat. I had a menace about me. That compelled my victims to take part in the show. Aspel just doesn't have that. He's a nice guy.
There is a book called Forever and Ever, Eamon, which was co-written by Eamon and his widow, which he never finished but was completed by his wife and published in 1989. Now, we could quite easily apply the Roy Keane methodology to that book, I think.
I hope so, yeah.
It's worth thinking about.
Aspel's a fucking grammar school boy. He's a little grammar school boy from up the road. Where did he grow up?
Trying to get me belts.
He's in fucking Surrey, and he grew up. He went through a fucking grammar school in Surrey. He was a little only child. He used to go to church at the weekend with a wee tie on. Come on, Aspel, you're not taking the belts off me. Dead or alive, I'm still going to knock you cold.
Aspel was up there at church every Sunday morning while I was bare-knuckle boxing around the back of a pub.
In a pit. Doug, in those days we didn't have any JCBs. I had to dig the pit myself. The older fellas, I was only 8, but I was 6'4" when I was 8 years old. Can you imagine that? I was 18 stone, and they'd give me a shovel, and I'd dig the fucking pit myself. And then I'd jump in and send a big fella in there, 50 years old, hands like fucking boulders, and I'd go toe-to-toe with the cunt, and 9 times out of 10 I'd knock him cold. That's what I was doing when I was a wee man.
Where's your God now, Aspel?
Say what you like about Jesus Christ. He's not going to give you that kind of life experience that I got down in the pit.
That's one of the story that cropped up when I was doing a bit of research on this. And it's from 2020, quite recent. And the headline is this: Rod Hull and Keith Harris widows preparing legal action to recover Emu and Orville. Now, what had happened was that the widows of Rod Hull and Keith Harris, who I'd forgotten had died actually, but there you go. They were taking legal action because the owner of the agency who represented them both, a man called Roger Shaw, was putting the puppets up for sale because he said they were his property. And the widows both said, "Is it fuck your property? Yeah, it's ours.
It's ours.
It belonged to Keith and Rod."
Then their estate.
and their estate, so they're now ours. International Artists was the name of the company. Both Cher and myself, Cher being Rod's widow, thought the puppets were in storage with international agents. I feel we are being held to ransom over the return of our real property, and it would be wrong to give Roger Shaw any money whatsoever. Roger Shaw had offered to sell them for 1,600 quid each.
Fucking hell.
He was holding Orville and Emu hostage to ransom. Yeah, he was going to auction them.
I won't harm them. They're perfectly safe. They're being fed and watered, right? And they're actually happy. I'll send you a photo of them.
If I do not receive the money within 10 days, 1 digit will be removed from Emu's foot.
I saw Keith
I don't know if you call them toes, claws, whatever, and it will be sent to you in the post.
Is it a hoof? I think it's a hoof. I was watching old Top of the Pops at Christmas, as I always do, and it's just funny when you watch it with your kids because they look at some of the shit that came up on Top of the Pops in the 80s and they're like, what the hell? And this particular episode was a look back on the biggest hits of the year. I think it was the one with Lenny Henry hosting it, which was...
Oh, the 1984 one, yeah.
Do you see the one with Lenny Henry where it was on,
yeah.
He's different characters in each link. So he does a couple as Delbert Wilkins. He does one as Sergeant Ganja, who's a Rastafarian policeman, who I'd totally forgotten about.
Is that the policeman with the dreadlocks?
Fucking hilarious. I'm watching it thinking, fucking hell, Lenny Henry was so funny. I don't care what anyone says. In the 80s, he was so funny when he did Trevor McDonagh and all of that. And he was really funny on this show. And but Keith Harrison Orville's on it. And they're doing I Wish I Could Fly. And my son's going to me, what is this? And I go, it's Keith Harrison Orville. Why are they on this show? I said, because they had a song out. Why? I said they were just really popular on TV. They're like a kids act. But he went, that puppet is rubbish. It's a rubbish puppet. It's a big green, but it just looks crap. It's so like unrealistic. And I was like, yeah, people liked it though. It's just like, the thing was, it was this big bird and it was like, it wore a nappy because it thought it was a human baby. And it thought that geezer was its mum. That's just what it was. And your kid just looks at you like, fucking hell. That is, that's actually disgusting. Yeah. That's actually grotesque.
Yeah.
It was grotesque.
I mean, I hope that our grandchildren or whatever will look back on YouTube as boxing each other on telly for money
and say the same thing.
Way.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know whether they got the puppets back. I'm assuming they did. Justice will have been done, surely. But yeah, keeping the puppets hostage and offering to sell them. He was going to try and sell them for 10 grand each through an auction. But he was going to let them have them back for 1,600 each. That's a good deal, I think. So, where are we? You know what? We've fucking pretty much run out
Do we
of
not
time.
want to just talk about the beginning, or have we not got time? It's too good. It's too good for us to skip over it in 3 minutes, how it starts.
Well, it starts with him and Andrews dressed up as some kind of monster chicken.
Yeah, and by the way, that's never really explained. He just turns up, I think it's at the BBC, isn't it? And he says, here I am, and he's dressed as a huge chicken in a really threadbare, sort of disgusting old chicken costume. But he never says why.
It's Thames Television's Euston Studios, and I don't know whereabouts in Euston that was.
I think it was maybe it was the big tower where Capital was. Yeah,
ITV. It used to be the London studios on the South Bank, didn't it?
It did, yeah. There was a big tower.
I don't know.
There was a big Euston Tower where Capital was, and another one where there was a big publisher. It might have been one of those.
So he's dressed up as this giant monster chicken, which looks terrifying. And what it is, it's a show called CBTV. I don't know if you remember it.
No.
It was, it's the first thing that we ever saw Annika Rice on.
Oh, yeah.
In the early 80s. It was a children's ITV show, and it was a couple of comedians called Jim Sweeney and Steve Steen were on it. And it was kind of like a more anarchic sort of Blue Peter Magpie kind of show.
Yeah.
With loads of bits of stuff going on. Quite funny. It was good show. I enjoyed it. And as I say, Annika Rice. So they're filming a thing about the Children's Royal Variety Show, which apparently Rod Hull had devised the year before. it came up with the idea of because there'd always been the Royal Variety Show, which had gone on for decades, and then Rod says, let's do one just for kids. And this Eamon Andrews says that it raised £50,000 the previous year, which doesn't seem like a lot of money, but back then I guess pretty massive. 50 grand. And they're filming a piece for the CBTV, and Sally James of Tiswas and Keith Chegwin are involved. And do we go into what happens?
Just do it. They're doing a little bit of business, a sketch where Emu and Rod Hull are working on reception, and there's a big queue of kids who are all there to appear in the audience and appear on the show singing. I think
they all appeared in the previous year's show. Apparently,
yeah,
they're all there to talk about the previous one.
And so it's a thing. You see it done quite a lot. The Muppets always do this, where they do a sort of like deconstruction kind of the show, and you see behind the scenes, and they're all and Rod Hull and Emu are working the door, and,
a little like we did in Sheffield.
Yeah, exactly. But we were doing it for real because of incompetence. But this is just a little bit of business, bit of fun.
Gross incompetence.
And up comes Sally James, and he has a little chat. Oh, I know you. Oh, hello. He does all that, doesn't he? And look, Emu, it's Sally James. Yes, hello,
Sally James. Stamp the ticket. Emu has a bit of a sniff of her neck, doesn't he? Emu nuzzles her. Nuzzles her neck in a slightly seedy way.
But he does.
Oh, he likes you.
He likes you. But he does all that. Our favourite thing, the stamp. The post office stamp. The postmaster stamp. The childhood ambition of both of us. Stamp. Emu's doing it. Emu's
got the stamp in his beak.
Yeah.
Stamp.
To like certify her, and she goes on. But then Checkers arrives at the front of the queue.
Yeah.
And he is less enamoured with Checkers.
He doesn't like Checkers quite as much as he likes Sally James.
He doesn't feel the same about Checkers as he did about Sally James. And
like all of us.
And he's like, well, I'm not... And Rod and Amy goes, no, this is... Rod Hull goes, no, this ticket you've got... No, this ticket you've got is for Swap Shop.
It's Swap Shop. You can't come in here.
And Checkers won't have it. He said, hey, hang about. No, that's for CBTV. That's for CBTV. No, it's not. It's not, is it, Emu? And he goes, it is, I'm telling you. And it starts to get, and in the end, like, it's actually Rod starting a bit of a confrontation, and Emu does that thing where he, like, pulls his front lip back, where you know that's the sign that he's about to kick off. He's about to flip. And Checkers is really, like, he's standing up for himself, isn't he? He's going, I'm telling you, this is the right pass, and they don't want to let him in. And Emu does do a stamp, but I think it's a stamp. He does. But it's almost like a negative stamp. Like that.
And then he stamps, and he stamps so hard that the desk collapses.
Doesn't Checkers sort of lean over to try and grab his ticket back, and Emu won't have it.
The desk cave in first.
Oh yeah, the desk caves in, and then obviously at this stage it's complete mayhem, and fucking Checkers falls into the desk, and Rod and Emu are on the floor, and Emu now
the entire desk collapses. Doesn't it?
Everything collapses. It's fucking. It's pure. It's a Fauda situation, and. And of course, Emu just takes the opportunity to attack Checkers on the floor, and the kids are pissing themselves. The kids in the queue behind. There's one kid who
looks terrified. I think it's brilliant. Yeah,
and it's just a brilliant fight. And actually, at that stage, Eamon Andrews turns up in his chicken costume with the red book, and with the iconic red book.
Yeah.
And at that stage, you're actually a bit gutted because it's so funny.
You want to see more?
What's going on? Yeah. It's like, oh, Eamon, back up, mate. This is a good fucking. This is a good 30 seconds going on here. Let's let this breathe a little longer. This is Emu is fighting Keith Chegwin on the floor. This is what TV's all about.
Now we've discussed in the past that classic iconic Emu bit where Emu pulls Rod into the chest freezer in the supermarket.
Yeah, Emu in
and
the
my
supermarket.
favourite bit of that is where Rod says, as they're in the freezer, Rod says, "We're not supposed to be in here."
Really funny reaction.
And the cream on the cake.
Of course you're not supposed to fucking be in there. No one's supposed to be in a chest freezer. Emu must know that.
But this bit with Chegwin, I think, is up there. Almost as good as the freezer bit.
I would say my favourite ever Emu bit is definitely the chest freezer escapade. Just perfect. It's almost the funniest thing you can watch on the internet. I watch it regularly to cheer myself
it's
up.
a guaranteed winner. Yeah,
and I always I get out. I share it. My brother Theo's a massive Emu fan as well, and sometimes on Sundays at my mum's, we'll get it out, put it on the phone,
have a look,
show it to my mum, cheer her up a bit. Here you go, have a look at that. That'll cheer you up, right? And everyone has a right good laugh. I don't think that can be beaten, but this bit with Cheggers and the collapsing desk is certainly, I would say, a Champions League place worthy Emu.
You know
bit of Emu antic.
I'm going to clip it out of the show and I'm going to tweet it on our Twitter account because it'll bring a lot of joy to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, maybe it's get us a few new listeners. We'll leave it there just as Eamon Andrews appears. And,
while they're literally riding around on the floor when Andrews turns up dressed as a chicken. And listen, folks, the show just gets better and better from there on in. One last thing that I've made a note of here that I meant to say to you is when Eamon Andrews is introducing the show at the beginning and he walks past all these kids, he refers to them at least once, maybe twice, as all these boys and girls. And it occurred to me that boys and girls was something that children were referred to as boys and girls. And I know, and I'm not going to get in some stupid rant about gender identity because, I'm not Piers Morgan or a cunt. So I'm not making a point about that. I'm just saying that as a phrase, boys and girls went out of fashion at some point, didn't it? Yeah. They go, here are all the lovely boys and girls. They wouldn't say kids or children. Yeah. They'd say boys and girls. Just an observation. Don't know what. And it went out of fashion long before gender politics became, or pronoun politics became an issue, which has only been the last sort of 5 years or so. This is 30 years ago they stopped saying boys and girls. No idea why. I'm not calling for it to come back. It's just merely an observation.
I will say that me and Bob used it during the live Atletico mini shows.
What, boys and girls?
Refer to the audience as boys and girls.
Did you get any complaints? Oh, good.
No one got cancelled.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It was fun though. Right, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, funny.
We'll leave it there. And there's plenty more to come from this fantastic, iconic episode of This Is Your Life. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.